very good evening to everybody here tonight, and what a wonderful night it is. Great day, lovely sunshine, and it's nice and warm. If this was 3 or 4 days ago, I think we'd all have been here in big coats. My name is Richard Hayes, and as chairman of the Gold Industry Group, it gives me enormous pleasure to welcome you here tonight to the Perth Mint for our third, can you believe it, our third Women in Gold event, which we're hosting in conjunction with Women in Mining Western Australia. To the Honourable Bill Marmion, MLA, Shadow Minister for Mines and Petroleum, Innovation and Disruptive Technologies, Defence Issues and Science, the Gold Industry Group Board of Directors, our debating panel, members and our industry colleagues, thank you so much for joining us here tonight. To commence this evening, I'd like to welcome very, very warmly highly respected Whadjuk Ballardong Noongar woman, Sandra Harbin, who's going to perform a welcome to country for us tonight. Sandra has collaborated on a number of Noongar culture, history and language projects here in Western Australia. She's currently undertaking Whadjuk community consultations for the Whadjuk Stories project on behalf of the new Western Australian Museum, and is performing Aboriginal community consultations for a proposed feasibility project for an Aboriginal culture centre on behalf of the City of Fremantle. So, ladies and gentlemen, please give the warmest of welcomes to Sandra Harbin.
Sakaya. My name is Sandra Harbin and I'm a Whadjuk Noongar woman and a traditional custodian of the budja, or the land that we stand on this evening. First of all, I'd like to acknowledge my Noongar elders, past, present and future leaders. Aboriginal culture is the oldest living culture in the world, and as a Noongar I'm really, really proud that that is a fact, and that my culture, the Noongar culture, or the Noongar people of the southwest of Western Australia, make up part of the Aboriginal language groups in Australia. We know that there were over 500 Aboriginal language groups in Australia prior to colonisation, and that the Noongar people, we are the largest cultural bloc in Australia. So again, something that I'm really proud of as a Noongar. I'd like to also acknowledge the Brittiers, or the bosses that stand here. And I've met some of them this evening, and there's probably too many to single out, but I'd like to also pay my respects to the Wodjula Brittiers, so to the bosses also of our land, and to the Honourable Mr Marmion. So a special acknowledgement and kaya to you. So Wanju to Whadjuk Noongar budja, kura kura, ngan mort kulin, and they karijan, and they ne and they wangin on the budja. Ngan court is Europe and the bewangan in Winona court. Yeah, yay, mbura. Ngan will ask also for the Quabarda Weirn to Yarl Corlia to Whadjuk budja. So what I said was my heart is really happy to be, it's really happy because I'm here standing with you, Noongar Court here, and talking with you. And what I said was that kura a long time ago, the Noongar people also, my mob, my mort, my family, they stood here on the budja and they met and they stood around and they had ceremony and they talked and they shared knowledge, just as I understand all of you are going to be listening to all this murich, this quabarda, really good knowledge here tonight, because there's going to be plenty of wangan in here between the men and the women, so the Marmin and the Yorga. And I hope that I get to hear a little bit of that before I leave. And so I will ask for the beautiful spirits, the Quabarda Weirn to Yarl Coral and Yininya with Noongar Court, because we ask for the beautiful and the good spirits to come, because part of our culture part of our protocol is to make sure that when people come onto our country, that we make sure that you feel safe and that you're protected. Because in our culture, there are many, many Wiran or spirits that are not only here, but that belong to the whole of within the Noongar Budja. Because Noongar say that the Wiran, the spirits, are everywhere. They're in the hills, so they're in the Karda, they're in the rocks, and they're in the trees. And we believe that strongly, we Noongar people, because we have very, very strong cultural beliefs, not only about our spirituality, our Wiran, but also about our stories, our Nyitin, our stories from long ago that have been passed on to us. And because right throughout the Budja, the Wiran, the Wargul, the creator, the giver of life, lives here in the Bilia, in the beautiful river, in the Derbil Yerrig and in the Perth waterways. And so I asked them to, for the Wiran, the Quabarda, the beautiful Wiran, to come here and to keep you safe here while you're in Wajak Noongar Budja. And I'd also just finally like to acknowledge the Quabarda Yorgas, the Murich Quabarda, the beautiful women here tonight that we're all here to celebrate your role in the mining industry and resources industry. And I know that many of you give opportunities to many of our Noongar people to in different roles and employment, so that they can make a difference in their own lives, but also in the lives of their families, which is really, really important, going forward in the future. So Kaya and Wanju to Wajak Noongar Budja. So welcome to Wajak Noongar country, and Kaya, thank you.
Well, thank you, Sandra, for that most wonderful welcome to country. It's a privilege to have you here with us tonight, for you to share the stories of your people with us, and for that we are grateful. Thank you. Women in Gold is fast becoming one of the most popular and influential gender diversity events on the mining calendar in Australia. To help us become the #1 event, I do encourage each of you to take action on social media tonight using the hashtag WomenInGold18. And it's only by doing this that we can spread the word of what it is we're going to do and listen to tonight. Please also do share your insights and views from the debate, along with your photos, and we do encourage photographs, and tag either the Gold Industry Group on Twitter or Heart of Gold Australia on Instagram and Facebook. You might be interested to know that we also have a photo competition running, so you have a chance to win one of 2 golden hampers from the Perth Mint, which Kelly Carter will draw after the debate at about 8:30 p.m. tonight. Before I hand over to our adjudicator this evening, I'd like to especially thank Goldfields Australia, Perth Mint, Ramelius Resources and Northern Star Resources, without whose sponsorship and support tonight would simply not have been possible. So now to the debate, which is what we've all been waiting for. As Vice Chairperson of the Gold Industry Group and Vice President of Legal and Compliance at Goldfields, Kelly Carter is a passionate driver and huge advocate for diversity in the mining industry. Kelly is enormously committed to educating new and upcoming talent about gold, the significance of gold, the significance of the gold industry, and promoting its expansive career opportunities, especially for women. This year, as testament to her entrepreneurial and business achievements, Kelly was announced a winner of the prestigious Business News 40 Under 40 award, and you've got to be pretty good to get there. So without further ado, I'd like you to give the warmest of welcomes to Kelly, and we look forward to the debate. Please tag, please share on social media, please photograph, share what you need to, and let's have a great time, let's have a great debate. Thank you, Kelly.
Thanks so much, Richard, and welcome everyone. I am absolutely delighted to be back up here for a 3rd year running and to be adjudicating our second great diversity debate. If I can just encourage people to move in. I know it's Friday night, but the drinks table isn't going anywhere, and it'll still be there when we're done, I promise you. If I could also just extend special thanks to Sandra for welcoming us to this beautiful land on which we meet this evening on behalf of the traditional owners of this place, the Whadjuk people of the Noongar Nation. If I could also take the opportunity to extend my thanks and respect to their elders, past, present and emerging, and to you, Sandra, as their representative. Thank you for that beautiful welcome. So, as you can guess, this year I'm absolutely delighted to be back as Madam Chair of the Diversity Debate. And I know that you're all dying to hear from the debating panel, but before we start, I'm not going to miss the opportunity just to share a few opening remarks with you. First, to the Gold Industry Group. As one of the 6 founding members of the Gold Industry Group 3 years ago, Goldfields and myself personally, because I've been involved throughout this time, have seen this group evolve to bring our industry to life and to lead the way for members to share their story. By developing long-term community engagement and education programs, by championing change on issues that are important to this sector, including diversity and including mental health, and by sharing the fantastic work that our members are doing, it's given the gold sector a united voice and the platform to collaborate, which is something that we've never had before. In thinking about this, I think the sector has generally been very humble in our approach to telling our story. Without a doubt, all of our organisations have always done really fantastic work and have provided significant social and economic benefits. But we've never told our story very widely, and I don't know, as a POM, maybe that's my observation on Australian tall poppy syndrome, maybe that's that at work. But now more than ever, the Gold Industry Group's role is being recognised and valued as the industry faces ongoing challenges, opportunities and barriers in an ever-changing world. And in the face of these challenges, the Gold Industry Group has provided a strong and united voice that can champion our industry and tell our story and provide an opportunity for every Australian to become aware, proud and connected to that story. At Diggers and Dealers earlier this year, we hosted our annual innovation breakfast with Deloitte. And when we asked the attendees of that session what the greatest barrier was to our industry, the image of mining received the most votes, whilst innovation in mining was voted as the greatest opportunity. And I think that's something that would probably resonate with us all. What's really apparent, though, is that this idea, this sort of image issue, doesn't necessarily align with the experience of the people who live and breathe our industry every day. And so the challenge for us in this sector lies in bridging this apparent gap, and particularly when it comes to those that are considering their future career options. If you think about it this way, there are 55,000 people working in the Australian gold industry. And if each of those people were to share one piece of good news about the industry on social media, it would reach tens of millions of people. So, as Richard said, I'd encourage you to make a good start on that by sharing your comments and photos this evening with the hashtag WomenInGold18, and you'll see that we'll have the live stream going on there, so you'll be able to see yourselves up on the screen. Equally, connect with us, engage with us on social media, sign up, receive our gold news and contribute and share the developments from your own organisations. As many of you would know, this year marks the 125th anniversary since Paddy Hannon first rode into Coolgardie to register his claim, sparking the biggest gold rush in Western Australia's history. To mark this historic discovery and to share the region's remarkable story, this year we launched Australia's second virtual Heart of Gold discovery trail on the app in Kalgoorlie, and followed by a reverse trail in Perth last month, which both provided opportunities for fantastic community events. We've also expanded our WA primary and secondary schools program, including teaching resources for years 4, 5, 7, 8 and 9, which are linked to the Perth and Kalgoorlie trails and align with the Australian curriculum. You'll be able to find more information about the trails in your gift bags as you leave this evening, and I'd strongly encourage you to share with your schools and communities and friends and family. I know that I've done all the trails every which way with my kids, and they absolutely love it, and they've gone to their schools and encouraged them to take it up with their other classes. We're also currently developing an online Gold Jobs Hub, which we hope to launch in the first quarter of 2019. The idea being that it'll connect companies to candidates and provide a platform for those who want to find out more about the industry, the companies that work there, graduate programs, traineeships, and for that all to be hosted in one location. Before we launch into the debate, and I promise you we are getting close, I just wanted to give a bit of context to this evening's topic, gender diversity equity targets. So I was looking for a knotty topic for this evening's debate, and really I had to look no further than targets and quotas. Whilst the use of targets and quotas is really nothing new, there's been a few events this year that have really shone a light on this issue. We've seen it dominate the headlines at times, and also commanded a lot of commentary from the business news media in various opinion pieces throughout the year. So if you think for one moment about the fallout from the Banking Royal Commission, particularly the spilling of the female members of the AMP board, think about the proposed introduction of gender diversity targets into the ASX corporate governance guidelines, and then last but by no means least, think about the fallout from the recent Federal Liberal Party leadership spill and the calls for targets within our own political parties. So without a doubt, there's a fascinating backdrop there. It's absolutely rich fodder for debate, and the thing that I really love about this issue is that there are equally compelling arguments on both sides. So, with that in mind, I'm delighted to introduce our esteemed panel of speakers to address the following motion. This House says corporate gender and equity targets are promoting mediocrity rather than driving performance. I just want to give you a quick rundown of the speakers who require no introduction. For the proposition, first up we have Brendan Grills, who is a director of Brendan Grills Solutions. Born and raised on a family farm growing grain and beef in the wheat belt, Brendan was elected to State Parliament in 2001 as one of the youngest parliamentarians in the state's history. Brendan challenged and was successful in becoming leader of the WA Nationals in 2005 and set course on a unique strategy implementing a new regional development policy called Royalty for Regions, which many of you would be familiar with, as well as campaigning to win the balance of power in an effort to allow his small party the political clout to implement that policy. Brendan was without doubt a unique politician, challenging convention, dare I say it, courting controversy at times, and driving innovative policy positions and championing regional Western Australia. Brendan set about building a new life in the Pilbara after politics and has established the Brendan Grills Group, providing strategy and business development advice to a diverse client base, including agriculture, aviation, gold and Indigenous corporations. Amongst other things, Brendan is currently chairing an Indigenous Trust Fund and is also assisting Shooting Stars, an Indigenous girls program with Netball WA, which I also note is supported by two of our members, Saracen and St Barbara, with strategy and support. Brendan's also joined the team of a future film production, The Furnace, as an executive producer. This film is set in the goldfields in the late 1800s. It's a Western style and features a gold-stealing bushman on the run from police, so watch this space for that one. First speaker for the opposition is Andrew Kennedy, Group Executive Legal Services from Newmont, Australia. Andrew is a dual qualified in both the UK and Australia lawyer, so some common ground there between us, Andrew, with over 20 years' experience covering general contract, commercial law and litigation, with a specific focus on workplace relations and workplace safety. In the course of his legal career, Andrew's worked in private practice, representing clients from a range of sectors, including banking, manufacturing, engineering, construction and resources, and has held in-house roles with Newmont, Australia. Andrew is passionate about diversity and inclusion, as he believes that a diverse and inclusive workplace creates a high-performance environment that is necessary to achieve a successful business. Andrew is also director of the Newmont Group of Companies, is on the board of the West Australian Meat Industry Association. For the proposition, we have Samantha Ware, who is the People and Culture Business Partner for Gold Road Resources. Good turnout from Gold Road. Sam has over 7 years of experience in human resources and recruitment fields within the mining industry, Her current role with Gold Road Resources sees her focusing on talent management, learning and development, organisational design and leadership. With an educational background in political science and human resource management, Sam is passionate about transformational leadership, diversity and organisational culture. Samantha is also the chair of the WA Mining Club Professionals Committee. I'd also like to personally thank Sam for, whilst I dare say being slightly daunted by this opportunity, has absolutely grasped it with both hands. So from me, a personal thank you, Sam. Last but by no means least, Alex Atkins, who is a non-executive director of Ausdrill. Alex is a mining engineer, geologist and geotechnical engineer with 28 years experience in the mining industry and is currently a director of AusIMM. Alex has worked in an array of roles and geographic locations in the mining industry, too numerous for me to list, but including mining engineer, underground miner, deputy mine manager and geotechnical engineer. She's also worked as a district inspector of mines for the WADMP and was chief operating officer of an artificial intelligence and machine learning software company. Alex is passionate about both technological innovation and inclusive diversity and was a finalist in the Australian Mining Prospect Awards, Mining's Female of the Year, and the WACME Women in Resources Awards in 2011 in recognition of her pioneering career. During her career, Alex has developed strong skills in governance, risk and innovation in the mining sector, skills that she now brings to the board of Ausdrill following her recent appointment. Okay, now to business. You know the motion. Each speaker has 10 minutes. I'll be very strict on timing and I'll be letting you know if you're in any danger of overrunning. Each speaker may be interrupted with points of information or questions during the course of the debate, and they have an option as to whether or not to accept those. We will, in that case, and without further ado, lead off by introducing our first speaker, Brendan Grills. Brendan, the floor is yours.
When I heard about this Women in Gold event, I must say I was excited. At first I thought it was going to be one of those body art paint events, so I was quick to sign up. Then Kelly, who isn't even in gold, can you get me a beer, darling? Told me it was a bloody debate on gender equality. Well, I wasn't going to miss this. I want to start by thanking the blokes. Thanks all you blokes for coming out tonight. It must have been pretty tough going. And I also want to pay my respects to all those blokes who stayed home tonight so their wives and partners could come out, even if they are a bit soft. Women constantly want blokes like me to change the rules to make it easier for them. I'm sick and tired of these inner city soya milk decaf latte, sipping smashed avo, ordering gender equity namby-pambies, constantly thrusting their virtue signalling onto hard-working, successful entrepreneurs like me. I mean, give a bloke a break. Every single fella here has won his job on merit. That is to say, from a mate who won his job on merit, from another mate whose dad won his job on merit. And if there was a better woman for the task, well, she would have got the job, if only she'd got an interview. The lesson here, ladies, is you need to roll in higher places, more well-to-do circles. Surely you can't blame us for your lack of connections as well. Everywhere I bloody well turn, we're getting pumped on this issue from the left-wing media devotees of Emily's List. So I'm glad I can bring some perspective to the discussion today, unlike Andrew and Alex, who will be neither fair nor balanced when they get the chance to come to the podium. Christ, we do our bit. For instance, I've personally invited women to the boardroom to deliver the morning tea. Don't you just hate it when they get the temperature wrong on the party pies? Talk about having just one job. Kelly, where's that beer? My board has even gone out of its way to ensure that those women serving the party pies have every opportunity to progress up the corporate ladder, especially if they dress appropriately for the task. I guess what I'm saying is it's time to put an end to these debates and Me Too hashtags. Women just aren't equipped for senior leadership positions. It's science. I know this. I know this. You're going to have to be quicker than that if you want to interject on me. I know this because I sit on the selection panel of all our senior appointments and I make my decisions based on merit. Merit and whether the female candidate has the same golf handicap as me. Merit and whether they can handle their liquor and some suggestive banter. Merit and whether they can be assured not to have to rush off to school to pick up a sick kid. How annoying is that? I mean, for Christ's sake, if my kids were sick, my wife would go and pick them up. I couldn't I couldn't interrupt an important long lunch at Villa d'Af discussing where the next footy trip was going to go home and pick up the kids. Some things are just too important. My dad used to tell me that a woman's role was to nurture and the man's to provide. And I know that times have moved on, so I don't include that as a question in my job interviews anymore. I have the solemn duty to tell you this evening that those same soy milk, decaf latte sipping, gluten intolerant, smashed avo eating, gender equality activists have infiltrated the gold sector. They are here tonight in the building amongst us. They are going to come at you with a whole bunch of fake news about the percentage of women on ASX 200 boards and the percentage of women in Parliament and how it's unfair and how we need to take affirmative action. But before that happens, I need to ask you, do you really want that to happen? Do you really want to see women running the board and men like me doing the admin and the operations? Do you really think your company would be successful if all the women who actually do the work and get the job done were promoted to the board, leaving all the blokes who talk about it, pontificate about what value they bring to the company, spending all their time schmoozing rather than actually doing, were actually in charge of doing the doing? That's a recipe for instant company shutdown if I've ever seen one. That's a shitstorm of cyclonic proportions. And that, my dear friends, is the most important argument for keeping things exactly the way they are. Protecting shareholder value by keeping the women doing the work and the blokes like me talking about how the women do the work. But I must admit I've been nervous. The proliferation of bleeding heart level 5 vegan lefties has grown exponentially over the last 10 years. Poodle jumpers are now a hot seller on Amazon.com. And so the Boys Club have had to put in place a few protective measures to maintain the status quo. So I'm about to let you in on an industry secret, but you must swear by Chatham House rules. Here it is, remember? Don't tell a soul outside these walls tonight. Every woman who's ever been promoted to a senior position in business or politics is on a retainer from the Boys Club to oppose gender quotas. Yep, that's right, I kid you not. To slow down this annoying march of the gender activist banshees, our strongest defence is senior women in these positions. Imagine if Diane Smith-Gander, Elizabeth Gaines, Lisa Harvey, Mia Davies actually supported gender quotas. Us blokes would be on toast. That would create unstoppable momentum and our cause would be lost forever. Christ, we had a close one just last month. Julie Bishop went rogue. She ignored her contractual agreement and started talking quotas. Shit, let me tell you, we pulled together senior industry leaders quicker than the last gold tax to put that little insurgency to the sword. We quickly worked out that we couldn't have an incredibly popular, capable, respected leader on the world stage advocating for quotas. So we rang around the WA Libs and we made sure that Julie was put out to pasture. I was amazed at how quick Matthias and Kristen could act, given it took 8 bloody years to sort out the GST, but they're senior members of the Boys Club, and it's good to know we can rely on them when the important stuff comes up. Now, Julie's out there, she's sort of commenting from the cheap seats on gender issues. Foreign Minister, much better from the backbench to be talking about stuff like that. Can you just imagine Julie, Diane, Elizabeth, Lisa, Mia, all those powerful women that you hear from daily, running a united, concerted campaign on gender equality? I'm sweating just thinking about it. So, let's be clear on the rules. We promote the selected few through the glass ceiling, just enough to show that you can break through to board or ministerial level with an attractive, confidential retainer, protected of course by a non-disclosure agreement, included in the remuneration package to oppose gender targets. That way, blokes like me can relax that a more competent and capable woman who has juggled raising a family, completing her master's degree and making her company millions of dollars is not going to replace me on the board. I can rest easy knowing that gender targets are not likely to take flight anytime soon. The status quo remains and all the hashtags in the world won't save you from our little arrangement. To recap, it's clear it would be a very, very bad situation to have board members and senior management actually having to do something to run the company. That's best left to the more competent women at junior level. You know, we even get away with paying them less per unit of output, which is critical to our margins. And we promote just enough women into senior positions and board roles on the surety that they oppose gender targets. And this pretty much ensures that the status quo continues, just how we like it. So thank you, ladies and gentlemen, for joining me tonight to listen to this most important debate. Now, Kelly, where's that beer? Have you got those party pies at the right temperature? What time's my next meeting? Did you pick up my dry cleaning? Did you manage to negotiate that $89 million settlement that you were working on last week? Is it my wife's birthday today? Have you finished your masters yet? I know you were doing that part-time, like after midnight. What's taking you so long to finish that? I think that pay rise is going to have to wait for a few more years. And in closing, Paddy Hannon, Tom Flanagan and Dan O'Shea were the ones who discovered gold in 1893. Not a woman in sight. If we had quotas back then, who knows, we might not even have had this building here tonight. Thank you, ladies and gentlemen.
Quite literally gold, and so much truth in it that you wouldn't believe. I need a moment to reflect on that, actually. Andrew, it's a hard act to follow. I have to ask, are you man for the challenge? The floor is yours.
I was going to say, I don't know quite, not sure how to follow that. I think if Brendan's wife finds out about that speech, I can recommend some very good matrimonial lawyers. But yeah, imagine I stood here and said, yes, he's just blown it all open. It's all a big con. No, I'm hoping I'm going to be the voice of reason here, and I might not be as entertaining as that, but I actually am going to answer a lot of the points that came up there. So thanks very much for inviting me along. Good evening, everyone. One of my colleagues actually said to me, hey, actually, that's good, there are some Newmont people here. Brilliant. So one of my colleagues actually said to me when she found out that I was speaking at a debate on gender diversity, she asked if it's appropriate for a white, slightly overweight, middle-aged male to speak on this issue. So I think it's one of those things we need to get out there that, white, middle-aged men are not exactly underrepresented in this industry, are they? And some of us might be a little bit chubby, but there's nothing wrong with that. But there's a serious issue here, okay? Impliedly, my colleague was saying women are the only people who are qualified to talk about gender diversity. This suggestion is that as a member of the privileged white male majority, I'm not qualified to talk about an issue that means so much to the female minority. But to me, this highlights the challenges women are facing in Australia. If men and women take the view that gender diversity is a female-only thing, then frankly, we're not going to move forward. We all need to understand the importance of diversity in the workplace if we're ever going to see any changes. So I hope no one here is judging me for being a man. So why am I talking in favour of targets? Well, to put it simply, gender diversity is good for business. Research has repeatedly proven that there's real positive benefits to increasing female participation in the workplace. Having women in senior roles improves corporate performance, better financial performance, greater returns on equity, returns on investment, returns on sales and share performance. Improved safety performance. Businesses with good gender balance are better with risk management. Improved decision making. Gender diversity signals that different views are encouraged, which leads to more robust discussion and a greater range of options and solutions. Gender diversity results in higher levels of employee engagement. This results in better retention of employees, so you're not having the turnover of employees that some of us suffer. And also, of course, there's the access to the larger talent pool. This at a time when the labour market's tightening, and in this industry we're struggling to attract employees. If you're limiting your recruitment to males, you are in effect only looking at half the talent pool. So it makes sense, doesn't it? Diversity is good. Having people involved in your business who come from diverse backgrounds with diverse experience must result in more balanced decision making and better business performance. That's fair enough, you may say. Women are good for business, but that doesn't explain why we need to have targets. So why should we have targets? We'll start at looking at some of these statistics. So in Australia, according to the Workplace Gender Equality Agency, in 2015, only 2.6% of chief executive officers and 12.3% of key management personnel in the mining industry were women, and just 16% of employees across the industry were women. Mining is the most male-dominated industry in Australia. And in addition, when you look at the roles that are being filled by women in the industry, women are overrepresented in clerical and administrative roles where they make up 77.4% of those roles, and underrepresented in all other roles. For example, 10% of machinery operators, 4.9% of technicians and trades, and 7.1% of labourers. So is that good enough? Women make up 50% of the population, so of course it's not good enough. So why is there such a disparity between the numbers of men and women in the industry? The anecdotal evidence is overwhelming. The mining industry is not only male-dominated, but is, as Brendan pointed out, a boys' club. It has a boys' club culture, and this marginalises women. A culture which rewards long hours, women being subjected to sexist remarks and jokes, and the skills and expertise of women being regarded less seriously than that of their male colleagues. This workplace culture can impede a woman's career advancement to a significant extent. What do you have to do to advance in the industry? You have to become one of the boys just to fit in. And think about the consequences of having a boys' club culture. People feeling bullied and harassed, and discrimination and increased employee turnover because someone who is uncomfortable with their workplace culture is unlikely to stay in their job. So even if you can recruit women, unless you've changed the culture, you're not going to keep them. And if you're still not convinced that we need to get rid of the boys' club culture, maybe the potential for legal liabilities will get you over the line. Claims for bullying and harassment can be time-consuming and costly. Not just the cost of defending these matters, but in respect of compensation and damages payable. The courts have moved on from awarding small amounts for discrimination and harassment. The new standard for compensation and damages is six-figure sums. And then there's a risk of reputational damage. No business wants to have its name associated with discrimination and harassment. So these are just some of the many reasons why we need targets. But if there's one takeaway from this debate, remember this: what gets measured gets done. Targets are a key tool available to a business to help the business.
On that note,
And I'll take the question.
Thank you. I'm hearing a lot about culture. Is there any way that quotas can actually change the gender diversity, or is it actually culture that you need to push through?
Well, if you bear with me, I'll be getting to that point.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you for the question. So targets are a key tool.
I think you might about to be mansplained, Sam. Just watch out.
Targets are a key tool available to a business to help the business focus on changing the culture. Once a business and the individuals within the business have to achieve targets, they will implement strategies that are not only designed to attract women, but are also designed to retain women. And then you will reap the benefits of increased female participation in the workplace. It's not just a matter of reducing the legal risks and saving money. You'll get a more inclusive culture, a better place to work, a high-performing and more profitable business. Now, I want to make it clear, Sam, that I'm referring to targets and not quotas. And I'm doing this for an important reason. Quotas are mandatory, and targets are voluntary goals. However, being voluntary goals does not mean that targets should not be taken seriously. In the same way that companies hold themselves accountable for setting financial targets, environmental targets, ethical targets, and they strive to achieve those targets for, amongst other things, reputational reasons, companies should make themselves accountable by setting diversity targets and striving to achieve those targets. But being voluntary means the business is working towards a target. It does not mean that the business has to employ a woman over a man. In an open recruitment procedure has been followed and the candidates have been objectively assessed, if the man's the best candidate for the job, then of course the man should get the job. But if you have gender targets, you'll approach open recruitment in a different way. You'll think outside the box. To use a quote I've stolen from Sam, it's time to see, think and do differently to achieve gender equity in the mining industry. Well, Sam, I agree with you. I agree. In order to increase female participation in the industry, we need to see, think and do things differently. But targets are the tool that make us see, think and do differently. Having to achieve a target means we might put more thought into how job adverts are worded and where we place those job adverts, or how we engage and brief headhunters. Targets encourage us to take a little longer to recruit, wait for a suitable female candidate, rather than selecting one of the first 10 applicants, all of whom happen to be male. You see, targets don't promote mediocrity. In fact, targets start by promoting creativity in the way we recruit. And targets make us think about how we retain women. They make us think about the sort of culture our business needs in order to retain women. They make us think about how we create that culture and then they make us implement strategies to achieve that culture. They make us see the female talent in the workplace and not overlook them when there are promotional opportunities available. You see, we are seeing, thinking and doing differently. And once you have more women in the workplace, you're promoting diversity. And once you have diversity, you'll find you start to build a reputation for being a great place to work, which in turn will attract more women and promote greater diversity. And as I said earlier, greater diversity results in more creative ways of thinking, and more creative ways of thinking results in better business performance, and better business performance means more profit. So I say no, gender targets do not promote mediocrity. I say gender targets promote creativity. They change the way we see, they change the way we think, and they change the way we do. And they are a key tool for creating a high-performing business. Thank you. I hope that was a good response to Brendan, of course.
It's coming, Brendan, it's coming. Thank you very much, Andrew. I'm a little concerned about all this talk about targets and quotas cutting off the litigation pipeline. You know as well as I do, we've got to earn a living, and if that work stream dries up, then God knows, I might have to try and be a CEO or something, and, you know, we all know how that's likely to go. But I could always stick to bring in the tea and party pies. Right, without further ado, I am delighted to introduce Samantha Ware for the proposition. Sam, the floor is yours.
Thanks, Kelly. First of all, I must agree with you, Andrew. I think culture is a significant part of the solution. However, I'm still not exactly sure how targets play a role, given, you know, we're only moving up 1 or 2% per year, but anyways, we'll get around to it. So I moved to Perth in 2011. I was bright-eyed, politically correct, overly polite feminist who joined the mining industry. It may come as a surprise to hear this, but those characteristics didn't always buy me respect with the open pit operators I recruited for. Yeah, I found out pretty early on I needed to harden up, learn how to take a joke, and stop with the feminist bullshit. And so I did. I learned how to take a joke, specifically of the sexist nature. And I started avoiding any conversation in which my feminist views would show, preferring to smile and nod at the 1980s behavior surrounding me. For years, I was stuck in this toxic culture. It took a few great leaders and the support of my colleagues at Gold Road to realize how I could drive gender diversity through cultural change. I was exposed to gender equity targets early in my career. It was 2012, and mining recruitment was booming. Female diversity was all the rage. Mining companies would engage recruiters when they were unable to source females to join their team. To recruiters, this was a gold mine. If you could find a blue-collar female, you could have her in a role by the end of the day. Easy money. Of course, she may not actually stay in that role, because the real reason the mining companies couldn't source females was they were unwilling to change their male-dominated culture in turn for inclusivity. I mean, like Brendan said, we wouldn't want to change the way men have always done things, right? With the growth of female targets, the rumors started spreading. Females were getting promotions for the sake of quotas, not based on merit. Men would say, she doesn't deserve it. She hasn't done her time. She only got it because she has a set of tits. Companies focused on quotas, bragging about their 1 or their 2% increase per year, yet allowed this behavior to happen behind closed doors. You call that inclusive? I call that toxic, and so do all the women who left your company. And there it is. You can recruit all the females you want to obtain your quotas, but to be truly diverse, you actually need to retain them. At the end of 2017, Gold Road had an employee turnover figure of 25%, something that we weren't proud of. We recognized in order to retain our employees and increase our diversity of thought, we needed to change our culture. As of today, our turnover is 5% for 2018. Regardless of industry shifts, exploration booming, and the many poaching attempts of our employees, we have retained 95% of them this year. Our female diversity is at 35% across the entire business, with 40% in scientific technical roles. I'll share with you how we did it, because every single company here tonight can experience the same results without implementing quotas. So we started with our why, from our board and our executive team across the entire business. We then determined how we could change the way we viewed work and the culture surrounding it. We began offering truly flexible working arrangements, and I'm not talking about working 9 till 6 instead of 8 till 5. We encourage our employees to work the hours that complement their lives, from the locations that suit them. We changed our FIFO rosters from a 2-1 to an 8-6, increasing our productivity by having employees who were less tired, more motivated, and they weren't sick of their colleagues by day 10. We managed to do this without dropping pay. This ensured that our employees could spend more time at home while maintaining their lifestyles. We applied a pay equity policy. This considered the mining market, the economy, individual performance, and what our peers were paying. What this means is unbiased, fair pay. And we upskilled our leaders in emotional intelligence so that they were better equipped to handle real-life situations and create inclusive teams. The changes we implemented benefit all employees, allowing us to focus on recruiting and retaining the right people while increasing our diversity in more ways than just gender. To recap, we implemented flexible working arrangements, pay equity, we upskilled our leaders, and we changed our rosters to work half the year while maintaining pay. The result of our initiatives? A holistic workplace, one that's happy, inclusive, and productive. With this culture in place, we started spearfishing. When we had a vacancy, we would approach who we considered to be the best in the industry. We provided them the opportunity to decide if they wished to pursue our role. We were creative in our approach. We hired outside of industry. We trained internally, and we offered opportunities for growth. Without reliance on job boards or recruiters, we were able to satisfy the technical aspects of our role, or of our company, while aligning our culture, our exploration, and our mining story to every person we hired. We hired these people because they were the best suited for the roles, full stop. If you still are not convinced, let me tell you about Danielle Kelly and how she came to work with us. I met Danny late 2017 while spearfishing at a UWA event. At the time, she was a mature-age student with 3 young children, and she was about to graduate as a geologist after 5 years of study. Danny had pursued a degree that she was passionate about, knowing that it may be difficult for her to find employment in that sector, given her family commitments. We could have put Danny in the too hard basket. After all, she was a graduate who couldn't work FIFO. She required flexible working arrangements, and she needed training. But instead, what we saw in Danny was a kick-ass scientist who happened to be a mother. Danny embodied our company culture, and she brought drive and energy into everything that she did. So we offered her a geological database role in May 2018. We did it on an arrangement that meant she could still maintain all of her family commitments while taking part in the industry that she enjoyed. Over 3 months, we trained Dani, and she exceeded every expectation we held. On our mission to continue unlocking Dani's potential, we offered her the opportunity to gain on-site, rock-licking experience. Within the day of asking, Dani and her husband had discussed the opportunity, rearranged their schedules, and ensured that family commitments would be handled. She flew to site the following week. Dani wasn't satisfying a female quota when we hired her, because we don't have one. It was because she was the best person for the role, and she has shown that every day since. What this proves is how easy increasing gender diversity can be through changing a company's culture, not implementing quotas. The entire time I've been in the mining industry, we've spoken a lot about gender diversity. It's been a hot topic. With all of that discussion, it seems that real demonstrations of effort and change occur less frequently. So take a moment with me. Does your company really support gender equity? Are they truly committed? I challenge you to take tonight's solutions back to your employer and to lead change. We will achieve gender equity in mining, and we have the opportunity to do it before the next generation of females experience the toxic culture. Thank you.
Fantastic. Thank you, Sam. That was a stirring call to action. Right, last but by no means least, Alex, the floor is yours. What have you got?
Hi everyone, it's lovely to see you. It's awesome to be here tonight, speaking alongside such amazing people. I feel very privileged to be here. My mining career started with 15 years in operations, working in the dangerous and remote highlands of Papua New Guinea, the wild west of Tasmania, the redneck regions of North Queensland, and the outback of Western Australia. After 15 years of operations in FIFO, DIDO and residential roles, I had my kids. I had to resign. It wasn't a choice. Tonight, I'll explain why I think targets are important and achievable, how targets will help change the culture of mining so it can earn back its social licence to operate. I'll explain the so far lost opportunity around retaining capable mining women and how we can bring them back after having kids. I'll end talking about the digital transformation of mining. Is that a surprise? And how women are already shining as creative and transformative leaders. First, a little about myself. I'm a multidisciplinary mining engineer who's worked in mining for over 25 years through the full value chain of exploration, feasibility studies, mine production, closure, in base and precious metals from the perspective of the mine operator, contractor, mine manager, government regulator, Big Four auditor, and now company director. Why did I choose to make underground my specialty and go so far as to obtain my first class mine manager's tickets, which required me to be a miner, including an air leg miner? Because when I started in mining, women were not legally permitted to work underground. I came out of high school believing girls can do what boys can do. Finding out I was illegal and bad luck offended me on many levels. Busting down that wall became my purpose. Women became legally permitted to work underground in Australia's mining states from 1987. They were, and still are, illegal and taboo in some countries, including Papua New Guinea, where I worked underground in the mid-1990s, thanks to the fabulous mine superintendent who hired me, Bryce Atkinson. Zero quotas or non-existing quotas of women in operations were the norm. Women were actively discouraged from working in underground mines, from becoming mining engineers, mine managers, and district inspectors of mines. I was constantly told what I could not do. This was a red flag to a bull. On the opposite side of the scale, I've worked at mines with 50-50 men and women, thanks to the visionary leadership of the awesome mine managers at Wirrallee Gold Mine in 1990 and Kidston Gold Mine in 1999, and it was awesome. I'm still great friends with these wonderful mine managers, Mark Hine and Ken Gross. These men I have named took risks by advocating for me and sponsoring me so that I could take up positions of leadership where women had never done so before. I've worked at sites with no or very few female professional staff present. The culture at those sites is what we call today toxic masculinity, with an intensely risk-taking culture, considerable adversarialism and overt misogyny. I compare these experiences to the experiences at the 50-50 sites, which had a happy family feeling, great connectedness with local pastoralists and communities, psychological and physical safety, collegiality, even fun. Research shows that companies which really value diversity are known to benefit materially from optimal decision making, higher productivity, improved safety, better managed risk, greater stakeholder engagement, and innovativeness. I won't quote all the reports except for McKinsey's Diversity Matters from 2015, which showed companies in the top quartile for gender diversity are 15% more likely to have financial returns above their respective national industry medians. So why should mining companies have a target for the percentage of women in the organisation and in its leadership? Well, if you believe the research, it's about making mining better. The mining industry is struggling with a poor public image globally. Its social licence to operate is at risk around the world. This point was clearly made by the International Council of Mining and Metals at the International Mining and Resources Conference held in Melbourne last week. The tendency for mining companies to push for win-lose outcomes where they win is what is corroding their social licence to operate. I haven't had anybody boo me yet, that's really good. We can do better. I was waiting for it then. We need a win-win or a value-sharing approach. This is best achieved when the mining company demography more closely reflects the demography of the communities within which it operates. This means 50-50 men and women. BHP have clearly woken up to this, announcing their 50-50 by 2025 policy in 2016, increasing female participation in their workforce to 22.4% by 2018. I wonder if the impetus for this paradigm shift came from the threat of a loss of social licence to operate after the Fundão tailings dam failure at their Brazilian Samarco mine in November 2015, which killed 19, destroyed villages and livelihoods downstream. But such a pronouncement is only words until it is achieved and sustained, and some may argue that hiring all those women may be to the detriment of the company's performance. It implicitly suggests a lack of belief that there are enough appropriately qualified and experienced mining women available for them to recruit. What I'd like to point out here is the elephant in the room: retention. The lifeblood of mining companies are their technical and operational people. They are the doers who find the mines, design the mines and run the mines. These are the geologists, mining engineers, geotechnical engineers, metallurgists, surveyors, miners, mill technicians and all the people who support the mine's activities. It is the doers who know what can go wrong and what must go right for optimal performance. What is needed is improved retention of female doers beyond motherhood, with flexible work arrangements and supportive systems to enable them to continue adding value, but through new models of work. We need to empower these women to re-engage with mining, to work, lead and grow authentically. These women have been in the trenches with the boys and have already earned their stripes. These are the first wave women, many over 40. If we do this, we'll see improvements in site and company culture, which will make you happy, Sam. We'll see improved flexibility, respect for different points of view, understanding through listening and sharing, displays of humility and emotional intelligence, building long-term trusting relationships. We do this, we will improve retention and attraction, which will ensure corporate knowledge is retained, key relationships are secured, empowering our people to get things done effectively with a mature, rich risk culture. This will make mining better for everyone. We'll get more win-wins, which is crucial for the mining industry's social licence to operate and for the digital transformation of mining, which has already begun. Digital transformations need to be led by people with an ability to unlearn and relearn in order to bring a beginner's mindset. Ideally, these people would be multidisciplinarians capable of holistic thinking, not afraid to fast, fail and pivot, and have trustworthy reputations which are required for value-sharing collaboration. Mining women, especially mums who've had to reinvent themselves, have had to develop these skill sets in order to survive. It's clear that women are already leading the way when it comes to the digital transformation of mining. Think of Megan Clark, Michelle Ash, Denise Goldsworthy, Erica Smythe. Finally, with globalisation forces at play in our digitalising industry, we are increasingly competing for jobs with the burgeoning educated middle class of the emerging economies, who are cheaper, hungrier and faster than us. The only differentiator we have at the moment is a track record of being world's best in terms of technical and operational expertise. We will only remain the best if we utilise all the available diverse talent we have on hand. Thank you.
Alex, thank you so much. You are an absolute trailblazer and a legend, and we are so much the richer for having you as part of our industry. Can I please ask everyone to extend their thanks to all of our speakers this evening? I think we can all agree that they have shared insight, inspiring stories, and in Brendan's case, gobsmacking, tongue-in-cheek audacity that we are all the richer for. I am going to actually throw it open to the floor in terms of the winning team this evening. So if I can have an outrageous applause for those who support the proposition, Sam and Brendan. Oh, it's a big call. And for our opposition, in favour of targets and quotas. It's a big call. I'm going to give it to the proposition. Well done, Brendan and Sam. Thank you so much, everybody. Enjoy the drinks, enjoy the food. Keep hashtagging away, Women in Gold 18. We want to be trending again, and have a fantastic night. I'll be back with the prizes at 8:30. Thank you.